Now here is a combination.
A very good evening to all the participants and to our resource person, Mrs. Mickey Singh, Principal, Vidya Bharati, South Park, Jamshedpur. So on today's topic, stress management techniques is very relevant for nowadays, for the present times. We are stressed. We are stressed because our exams are going on in the school. We are stressed because we have to take online classes. We are stressed because we have to manage online classes with the regular classes. We are stressed because of the stress itself. There are so many things to do. You have to manage your personal life, you have to manage your professional life, and we have to find a fine balance between the same. So, on today's topic, I wish Mrs. Vicky Singh, Principal, leads us to those panacea for de-stressing ourselves. And let us hope that this training becomes a very enjoyable and successful one. Dear participants, there is one request to all of you is that please mute yourself because the background noises disturb the resource persons, and if you have to say, she will pick up the question answer session at the end of the presentation, and at that time you can unmute yourself one by one and speak. And if you feel that somebody has started speaking before you have started to, or before you, please do not overlap. Then we cannot hear anybody, and the essence and the meaning of the training is lost. So let's hope for a nice and invigorating training today. Over to Mrs. Mickey Singh. Ma'am.
Thank you, Subhoshri ma'am. Thank you for providing me with this platform where I can interact with so many different school teachers and the principals. My good afternoon, good evening to everyone. And yes, I would like to begin by asking you a few questions. What do you mean by stress? You may answer through the chat box. What is stress? We often hear that stress is everywhere. It affects us all. All of us do feel that a little stress is okay and at times it is beneficial. But too much stress can and make us all sick physically and mentally. I'd like you all to give me the response through the chat box. What is stress? Okay, mental health is not in peace, mental pressure, work pressure, tension, coping with situations. Okay, good responses. Now let us discover what we actually, in psychological terms, call stress. Stress can be defined as our mental, emotional, behavioral reactions to any perceived threats or demands. What do you mean by perceived threats or demands? The point is that the same situation can be perceived as a threat for me, but not for my colleague. Why? Because we may have our coping mechanisms well in place. So stress is nothing but our perception that a situation or an event is threatful or very, very demanding. What makes something stressful? There are situations which are imminent, that are very, very demanding. There are events which may change our lives, like a change in job situation or giving birth to a child, timing, punctuality, meeting the deadlines, unclarity. If you are given a role to play, but your responsibilities are not made clear to you, the situation is quite stressful for us. The desirability, the controllability, whether you are in control of the situation or the situation is controlling you. So all these things make a situation or something very, very stressful. Why do we stress out? The next question is, हम stress क्यों करते हैं? We have already discussed, we perceive a situation as dangerous, difficult, or painful. And secondly, we do not believe that we have the adequate resources to cope up with the stress. हमें लगता है that हमारे पास उतना capability नहीं है. We do not have that kind of resources to cope up. And then when we feel that we are at a loss of resources, we feel we may not be able to overcome the situation, then the stress starts affecting us. So here are the basic concepts of stress. I would like to repeat. Stress is defined as how the body reacts to demands. Stressors are the cause of stress, and stress is a part of our lives, whether we like it or we do not like it. And as we have said earlier, that stress in some way is very, very beneficial for us. Too much stress definitely, or chronic stress will lead to other things, but stress definitely motivates us as time to excel ourselves. It is not possible to live stress-free, and managing stress in a positive way prepares us for increasing life challenges. I request all of you to please mute yourself. There are various causes of stress, and these causes may be internal as well as externals. Here is a list of all the causes. You all may go through it. Chronic worry, pessimism, rigid thinking. लकीर का फकीर भी नहीं होना है हमें. Negative self-talk, unrealistic expectations. We have set certain targets in our lives, but we also need to see whether what our abilities are. Especially when a student comes to us, madam, we want science stream. Specifically at the times of admission, हमें देखने मिलता है, the student is hell-bent on taking science, and we as the educators know what his capabilities are. So he's setting an unrealistic expectations from himself. So at the end of standard 11th, we feel that the child fails. So and if we set unrealistic expectations of ourselves, we are bound to suffer from stress. All or nothing attitude. चाहिए तो सब कुछ चाहिए. It cannot be so. Life cannot be so easy that मिलेगा तो सब कुछ मिलेगा. Wait for the time. Take small steps at a time. There are various external causes of stress, like major life challenges, work or college, broken relationship, financial problem, stress in the family, and being too busy. And these days, of late, we have started keeping too busy. One after the other, as Subhoshri madam said, exams hai, training karani hai, 50 hours of training hai, lot of stress is there. Now we will discuss what are the effects of stress. As we have already said that stress is inevitable and how we cope up with the stress is more important, let us first discuss the effects of stress. And once the stress starts taking its toll on our body, it can have its physical effects, emotional effects, cognitive effects, and behavioral effects. Physical effects of stress can be seen as tightness in the muscles or the sore muscles, sweatiness, stomach ache, rapid breathing, irregular bowel movements. Why does this soreness of muscles happen? Because muscles tense up when the body is stressed, and it is nothing but the body's reflex mechanism to guard itself from any kind of threat or danger that is existing in the immediate environment. And once the body gets used to it, if there is a chronic stress situation, our body will always be on an alert. And if we stay in this situation for quite a long period of time, then other stress-related disorders are bound to happen. When we are under stress, we feel that our body temperature rises and in order to cool down, we start perspiring. A lot of sweating happens. Our sweat glands get activated so that the body restores its temperature. Then we feel the butterflies in the stomach. We complain of stomach ache. We complain of nausea. At times we feel shortness of breath. Why does it happen? Because the air passage between the nose and the lungs, the airway, that constricts and we start taking short breaths and we start breathing rapidly. Now, let us see what are the emotional effects of stress. As far as the emotional effects of stress are, all of us know we have mood swings and it could lead to lack of enthusiasm. Forgetfulness, we tend to be forgetful as our mind is preoccupied with a lot of thoughts one after the other and we are not able to focus. We are under excessive worry and we have difficulty in relaxing and quietening the mind. कभी-कभी रात में भी जब हम सोने जाते हैं, we feel we are not able to calm down. Our mind is still at work. We have to quieten our mind. We have to relax our mind. But it doesn't happen. Why? Because we have this tendency of worrying over and over again. And in some people, we find that in a stressful situation, they become short-tempered. There are times when you feel you have no control over the situation. You are overwhelmed. And at times we also feel restless and we feel bad about ourselves. We have low self-esteem and we may even feel lonely, worthless and start avoiding others. We lack motivation when we are under a lot of stress. There are certain cognitive effects of stress and those are racing thoughts, constant worrying, disorganization, inability to focus, poor judgment, being pessimistic or seeing the negative side are some of the cognitive effects. We become too critical of a situation. हम हमेशा उसके pros को नहीं, उसके negative side को ज़्यादा weigh करते हैं. We have this tendency of always अगर ऐसा हुआ तो what will happen? Take the step, take the jump, and then let us face the challenges and then let us see what will happen. Why to always think of the negative things? Let us think of the positive things. What if we become the winner? We emerge as a winner in that stressful situation. Why can't we think in that way? Why do we always have to be negative about it? And behavioral effects of stress is very, very common and it can be seen by all. Today's youth, what is substance abuse? Like coping up with stress through drugs, through cigarette, through alcohol is very, very common. It's rampant everywhere these days. We feel that we are not able to eat or else we start overeating. Procrastinating, there is a tendency to shelve our responsibilities. आज नहीं, कल देख लेंगे, कल कर लेंगे. नहीं, वो कल कभी नहीं आएगा. Because this is all the negative side of stress. And it is also common in the children. We can see them nail biting. They are very, very fidgety. They cannot remain confined to their places. So these are some of the effects of stress, which if it is there for a long period of time and if the stress is chronic, it is definitely going to have a long effect. It's going to take its toll on our emotional behavior, emotional and our physical health. It will lead to stress-related disorders. It may seem like stress is an external force, something that happens to us, such as illness of a loved ones, a work deadline, etc. As a result, it may seem there's really nothing we can do about it. The most fundamental thing to understand about stress is that it isn't a one-time event. ये कोई एक टाइम इवेंट नहीं है with one cause and one specific reaction. It is actually a cycle with many phases and we need to interrupt this cycle before it becomes a full-blown chain reaction. There is no right way to reduce the stress. There are many options available to us and Understanding our own personal version of the stress cycle will help us find the ones that will work for us. So let us understand each of the phase in this cycle of stress. First and foremost is the external stresses. External stressor is nothing but the trigger point, like death of a loved one, change of job situation, and might be somebody's illness at home. And this is the triggering event, which is also known as the stressor. This is actually the only part of stress reaction cycle that is beyond the mind and body. Here, our mind and body do not play any part. Then comes the stage of internal appraisal. After the trigger sets in, our senses take in the information that something has gone wrong, something is not right. This ability to know when our environment is safe or not is called neuroception. What happens here? Our senses, after detecting a threat, sends a signal to the amygdala. And the amygdala, it sends a signal to the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Hypothalamus and the pituitary gland are responsible for creating homeostasis in the body. That is, it helps us in maintaining the balance of our body. So once the amygdala sends the signal to the pituitary gland that something has gone wrong, they come into action. Once they come into action, then comes the third stage, that is the physiological response stage. Here, they activate the sympathetic nervous system, the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus. They send a signal to the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or the flight response. They give a signal to the adrenal gland to release stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. The fight or flight response then stimulates the cardiovascular system and the musculoskeletal system, priming you to be able to get out of there or to stay and fight. This is the stage where you take a decision whether you have to be in the situation and fight it out or you need to take a flight from here. And whenever the SNS is activated, the parasympathetic nervous system or the PNS, which governs the rest and digest function of the body, is suppressed and we are left in a state of hyperarousal. Our immune and digestive system are given the stand down signal at this point of time. Up to this point, much of the stress reaction cycle is outside our control. We cannot do anything. Then comes the stage of internalization. यहाँ पे धीरे धीरे we start becoming aware of our own responses, internal responses. धीरे धीरे हमको पता चलता है कि stressors have set in and our body has started responding to it. We start internalizing our own responses. We start becoming aware of them. We may notice our heart racing, our stomach upset, or our back aching. Then we might also start to worry about how we feel and whether we are poorly perceiving ourselves, whether we will be able to handle the situation or not. These type of thoughts can lead to mental symptoms such as worry, anxiety, and nervousness. And any of these thought patterns are unpleasant and we want to take charge of the situation then. Then we come to the fifth stage called the coping stage. We try to do anything that will elevate us from this stressful situation. We want to get rid of that worry. We want to get rid of that anxiety. And what do? We resort to certain mechanisms. And most often, we have this tendency to resort to maladaptive behavior like munching on the junk food, eating chocolates, making use of alcohol, chewing tobacco. What are these? इससे stress release आपको temporary मिलेगा, but in the long run, it is going to have a negative impact on your stress cycle. It will become a habit to you, and soon you will find that आप इसके गिरफ्त में आ चुके हैं. You are heavily under its control. So your coping mechanism shouldn't be maladaptive. This is the time you need to take and evaluate whether the coping mechanism that you have used, did it actually help you? Or if it has helped you at this point of time, will it be able to help you in the long run? So take that call, do that evaluation, and then again be prepared for the next stressor and let the cycle set in. And as you go through these step by step, there you have to take that conscious decision that whether which strategy will suit me and which strategy would lead me to greater stress. Here are a list of individual stressors. You may have a look at it. Now let us check how vulnerable we are to the stress. I will be giving you a set of questions, whether you have to take, whether you have here, you have to go through these questions and give your responses and award them some points. And after the questions are done, you have to you have to total all the points. And then I will reveal the scores, which will tell us how vulnerable are you to stress in life. So all of you, please be ready with your pen and paper and try to take this quiz, a short quiz, and it will be fun for you. At the end of the sheet, you can see certain points have been awarded to all the columns. And as you answer, please total your points and get the total scores. Once you are done, you may please share your scores in the chat box. Please. If you are through, please share your scores through the chat box. I think yes means that you have completed it. A couple of seconds more. Let me now share the scores with you. What your scores mean, you can do the analysis yourself. If you have got scores in 0 to 10, it indicates you have excellent resistance to vulnerability to stress. 11 to 29 means little vulnerability to stress. 30 to 49, there is some vulnerability to stress. 50 to 74, you are seriously vulnerable to stress. And 75 to 80, you need to do something about it. You need to visit a psychologist. I will now share a video with you.
A professor once asked an entire class what would happen if they held an entire glass of water in one hand for a minute. The class in unison said that nothing would happen. He then asked them what would happen if they held it for 5 minutes. Again, they said that nothing would happen. He then said, now imagine if you held it out in your hand for an hour. They said that their hand would start hurting. He said, interesting. Now imagine if you held it out for 8 hours straight in a row. The student said, sir, we would probably not be able to use our hand for days due to pain. The professor smiles at the students and says, now class, this is what stress is like. It's not the amount of stress and worry that gives us pain, but it's the amount of time that we hold on to it that actually kills us. So remember that whenever you are stressed out or worried, it's okay to hold on to it for a few minutes. However, we must put it down. If we hold on to it for too long, it will cause us more pain and sometimes even permanent damage.
So now you have seen that we need to pour down the glass of stress. And we will now share a few of the stress, how we can relieve stress, how we can alleviate stress. We'll share those techniques, and whatever may suit you best, you please resort to those strategies, those techniques. From minor challenges to major crises, stress is a part of life and we can't control the circumstances. We can, however, control our response mechanisms. When stress becomes overwhelming, it's important to have effective stress relievers that have a soothing effect on our mind and body. And एक बात मैं बताना चाहती हूँ, there is not one size that fits all. What may work for me, वो आपके लिए काम नहीं कर सकता है, और जो मेरे लिए घर पे काम कर सकता है, जो भी स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट टेक्निक्स जो मेरे लिए घर पे काम कर सकता है, वो जरूरी नहीं है कि मेरे वर्क प्लेस पे काम करे. So we have to have a combination of these techniques, these tools, which will definitely help us to relieve our stress. So it is important for us to have a variety of self-relief tools at our disposal, and then we'll be able to pick a strategy that works best in a given situation. It can be both short-term and long-term. Some short-term strategies and the benefits of the short-term strategies are that they can be performed they take very little practice to master, and they provide immediate relief. First technique is the guided imagery. Guided imagery is like taking a short vacation in your mind. It involves imagining yourself being in your happy place, maybe picturizing yourself sitting on a beach, listening to the waves, smelling the ocean, and feeling the warm sand underneath you. It can be done with a recording where you listen to someone walk you through this peaceful scene, or after a lot of practice, you may yourself take yourself through that walk to the peaceful scene, and you can explore and think of all the sensory experiences you would engage in and allow yourself to feel as though you are really there. You wish to be in a certain place, take a short mental vacation. आंखें बंद कीजिए, इमेजिन कीजिए कि आप वहां पहुंच गए हैं और अपने सेंस से आप क्या क्या वहां एक्सप्लोर करना चाहते हैं, क्या क्या एक्सपीरियंस करना चाहते हैं, उन सब चीजों को एक्सपीरियंस करना शुरू कीजिए. This definitely has a calming and a soothing effect on our brains. Next strategy would be meditation. और ये आज से नहीं, कई सालों से चला आ रहा है meditation, and it does give us short-term relief, but in the due course of time, if we practice it, if we make it a regular habit to meditate, it becomes a part and parcel of our lives and equips us well to take charge of stressful situations. You might develop a mantra that you repeat in your mind over and over again while you are taking slow, deep breaths, or you may take a few minutes to practice mindfulness. And what is mindfulness? हम लोग बच्चों को सिखाते हैं ना, close your eyes, no talking. Close your eyes. सुनिए आपको क्या सुनाई दे रहा है. Try to listen. Try to feel क्या हो रहा है. This is nothing but mindfulness. That is paying attention to what you are seeing, what you are hearing, what you are tasting, what you are touching and smelling. Be in that moment. Live that moment. Be aware of your situation. That is called mindfulness. The next technique is progressive muscle relaxation. PT games teacher जब PT के लिए हम लोगों को बाहर लेकर के जाते हैं, why do they say कि start with the warm up exercises? Warm up exercises क्या है? कुछ नहीं. It is all muscle relaxation. Start with your toe muscles, come to the foot, gradually move upwards, up to your forehead, then to your head. Start relaxing muscles of each and every organ, and then you will start feeling a sense of calm and composure in your stressful situations. Another way is you can have is focus on your breathing while you imagine that you're inhaling peaceful and calm air and feel that the air is spreading throughout your body. As you exhale, imagine you are breathing out all the stress and tension. Detoxify your body through the exhalation. Take a walk, and I can vouch for this. It doesn't only keep you fitter, but also gives you a change of place, a change of scene when you are walking. It leads to a change of scenery. You start admiring things, and you may meet people with happy faces, and those happy faces will also like make you happy. So take a walk, take a break, and a change of place always soothes you. A change of place always works wonders to your down spirits. Again, take breaks, give yourself me time, engage in leisure activities. We are too busy. We always say time नहीं है, but time क्यों नहीं है? और खुद के लिए time नहीं है. We need to find out that me time. Indulge in those activities, leisure activities. Go for shopping. Take rest. Ease out on Sundays. हमेशा प्रेशर में मत रहिए. अपने लिए समय निकालिए. And indulge in your favorite leisure activity, your favorite sport, because ultimately you are the most important person. If you are strong, if you are healthy, you are happy, only then you can spread that happiness. So take break, give yourself the mean time, and do not have the guilt about it. Building time for leisure in your schedule could be the key to help you feel best. Yes, this is one of my favorite slides, and why? Research has proved that hugging for 20 seconds will release oxytocin levels, it will increase them, and higher oxytocin levels are correlated with lower BP and heart rate. And it produces a sense of relaxation. And oxytocin is also called as cuddle hormone. So, ये जो जादू की झप्पी है, it works wonders. And embracing definitely, और केवल embracing और hugging ही नहीं मैं बोलूंगी, जब हम घर से बाहर निकलते हैं किसी situation के लिए तो बड़ों का आशीर्वाद लेते हैं, तो उनका एक स्पर्श, that touch of their palm on our forehead, on our head also does wonders to our spirits. लगता है कि हाँ हमारे साथ कोई है, हम अकेले नहीं हैं. And the whole, my family is there to support me. Enjoy aromatherapy. Emerging research suggests certain scents that can alter brainwave activity and decrease stress hormone in the body. So whether you enjoy candles, diffusers, or body products, consider incorporating some aromatherapy in your day-to-day life. Create artwork. Research consistently shows that coloring can have a meditative effect. One study found that anxiety levels decline in people who were asked to color complex geometric pattern and making it a perfect outlet for stress reduction. And why only creating artwork? Indulge into dancing. गाना गाइए, डांस कीजिए, जो आपको पसंद है, कुछ क्रिएटिव कीजिए, कुछ नया कीजिए, and feel stress free. Now it's time to share a short video with you. दिख रहा है? I hope you got the message that stress makes us stronger. We cannot avoid it. Now we will discuss some long-term strategies of how to long-term which will help us in coping with the stress. The benefits of long-term stress relief strategies are it promotes resilience to stress, increases overall wellness, and creates a lifestyle. A poor diet can bring greater reactivity towards stress. Emotional eating and reaching for high-fat, high-sugar food can provide a temporary sense of relief that adds to your long-term stress. Munching कर लीजिए, distress eating कर लीजिए, but it is not going to help you in the long run. Temporary relief मिलेगा, but in the long run, we all know that the sugar spike in our body, which is caused by such munching, is actually detrimental to our health and the whole body can crash. So we should avoid eating and we should consume a healthy diet which will help us to combat the stress over the long period of time. Food like eggs, avocado, and walnut support mood regulation and energy balance in our lives. Develop a positive self-talk habit. बहुत हो गया अपने आप को कोसना. Stand in front of the mirror. Talk to yourself. It is important to learn to talk to oneself in a more realistic manner and in a compassionate way. Don't be too harsh on yourself. हमेशा अपनी बुराई मत कीजिए and don't take yourself. You are not a superwoman or a superman. You have flaws. Accept those flaws, but look at your strengths. Talk about those strengths and say that yes, I can do it. I am capable. I can fight. I am a fighter. So be compassionate to yourself When you call yourself names or doubt your ability to succeed, reply with a kinder inner dialogue. It will help you to manage your emotions and take positive actions. Practice yoga or any other form of exercise. All of us know that exercise, any form of exercise, be it Zumba, be it yoga, be it aerobics, it is all very, very important because it is helpful in relieving our stress. We are likely to receive long-term benefits if we incorporate these into our daily lives. And I can vouch for it that yoga is the best because it combines physical movement, meditation, light exercise, and controlled breathing. And we have discussed it all. These are nothing but excellent stress relieving. These are stress relievers. So yoga combines all, and we can resort to yoga and change our lifestyles, thus alleviating stress to a very great extent from our lives. I hope all of you must have attended the session conducted by Madam Moshumi Das, which was about importance of gratitude. Yes, be grateful to everything. Be grateful. Count your blessings, it is said. बोला जाता है ना, count your blessings. हर वो छोटी चीज जो आपके लाइफ में है, be thankful about it. Nothing comes free. The air, the sunlight, everything that is there in bounty. Be thankful. Express your gratitude to God. Similarly, those people who have stood by you in your times of need, who have helped you in your worst times, say, reach out to them. Tell them that how you feel about them. Don't have that emotional blockage. उनसे मिलिए, उनको express कीजिए. अपने आप में मत रहिए. हर छोटी चीज के लिए start saying a thank you because it is important. And studies have shown that grateful people enjoy better mental health, lower stress, and a better quality of life. Find a support system. Please talk about, and we have often heard it, that please talk to someone before it is too late. Reach out to people. Having supporting people in our lives is the key to stress management. If we lack emotional support and friendship, it is important to get it. Perhaps confiding in a family member or distant friend can help you become closer, and it may give you the social support you need. Baatein kijiye. Don't keep bottled up. Vent out your stress by releasing your inner emotions, your inner feelings. Please start sharing before it is too late and the situation is out of control. Be realistic. Set practical goals for dealing with situations and solving the problems of your lives. Assess your strengths and your areas of opportunities. Set realistic expectations from yourselves and accordingly set a realistic plan. बड़े बड़े प्लान्स बनाने के पहले अपने आप अपनी कैपेबिलिटीज को ध्यान में रखिए. आप क्या कर सकते हैं? What are your resources? So please assess all that is available to you and then be very, very realistic and then start your journey. Change your attitude. You may not be able to shape the world so that nothing stressful ever happens to you, but definitely you can always change the way you respond to a situation. So much of our life depends on our attitude. The way we choose to see things and respond to others makes all the difference. Two things in life over which we have total control are our attitude and our efforts. So when the wind is not blowing your way, adjust your sails. प्रतिकूल सिचुएशन में भी आपके एटीट्यूड से आप जंग जीत सकते हैं. Don't give up. Keep that smiling face on and say that yes, I can do it. Everything can be achieved. Get organized and take charge. Chaos किसी को पसंद नहीं है. We all try to settle the chaos that is there in our lives. Whether it is mental chaos, emotional chaos, whatever it is. We don't want to live a chaotic life. So reassess your to-do lists. If you're trying to squeeze your 20 hours of work into 16 hours, you are bound to feel stress. आप stress feel करेंगे ही. 20 घंटे का काम 16 घंटे में निपटाना. You have to be stressed. Therefore, plan your time, make a schedule and establish your priorities. क्या पहले करना है? किस काम को आज ही करना है, अभी करना है, किस काम को कल के लिए किया जा सकता है, बट वो कल पे टलते ना जाए, उसको कल कर ही लेना है. So maintain your schedule, prioritize your thing and keep a check also as to what things were you supposed to accomplish today and what you have been able to accomplish and what is still pending. Every day make that entry in your diaries or wherever you feel like making that entry, and please establish your priorities. Most important, learn to say no. There are a lot of negative influences in our lives. We need to drop that baggage of negative friends, negative colleagues who don't impact us in a positive way. So learn to say no to them. बहुत लोग हैं जो अपने मतलब से काम निकालते हैं आपसे. आपको उनको ना बोलना आना चाहिए. Sometimes the best way to reduce stress is to cut something or rather someone out of your life. Get rid of the things that are adding to your stress. Therefore, learn to say no, as that you can experience more peace. And remember, there is a way to say no. Handle the situation very, very carefully. Slow down and everything you are chasing will come around and catch you. आप जिसके पीछे भाग रहे हैं, थोड़े देर रुक जाइए, अपने आप को रीऑर्गेनाइज कीजिए और फिर से जर्नी स्टार्ट कीजिए. डेफिनेटली वो चीज तक आप क्या पहुंचेंगे, वो चीज खुद चल के ही आपके पास आएगी. If you are always racing to the next moment, what happens to the one you are in? आप अभी को नहीं जी पा रहे हैं, आप कल की चिंता में अपना आज खराब कर रहे हैं. आज को सवारिए, आपका कल ऑटोमेटिकली बेहतर होगा. Slowing down and pacing yourself helps you to develop endurance you require to finish what you have started. So pause, ground yourself, move forward at your best pace and keep adjusting your pace every now and then as required. Orient towards quality and effectiveness. Efficiency जरूरी है, but effectivity उससे भी ज़्यादा जरूरी है. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. आप अपने आप के लिए सबसे important होने चाहिए. Take good care of yourself. Eat properly. Get regular rest. Keep a routine. Allow yourself to do something you enjoy every day. Paradoxically, the time we need to take care of ourselves the most, जब हमको सबसे ज़्यादा अपने चाहिए होता है अपने आप का ख्याल रखना, जब हम stressed out होते हैं, वो वही टाइम है when we least take care of ourselves. Taking care of yourselves is an important part of building resilience or bouncing back from stress, trauma and burnout. You have to remind yourself, ये बहुत जरूरी है अपने आप को रिमाइंड कराना और दूसरों को भी रिमाइंडर देना that you and your needs are important. आप बहुत important हैं और आपकी needs भी important है. They are not secondary. अगर आप अपने आप के नजर में सेकेंडरी हैं तो दुनिया आपको टेकन फॉर ग्रांटेड लेके ही चलेगी. So develop that I am important and let others also know that you are important. Your needs are equally important. What we have done up till now, I would like to recapitulate it through the help of a video. All of you please see this video as this is just the recapitulation of all that we have done today.
Watch this. One little piece of paper can have a remarkable effect. Stress is stressful. But if you understand a bit about what it is, you'll be better able to deal with it. First, though, take a few deep breaths. In fact, do that anytime you feel stressed. It helps. Stress is a survival mechanism. When danger appears, it can get you out of trouble quickly. Your body crashes up the gears and throws all its resources into getting you moving. Your heart pumps furiously to increase blood pressure. Glucose is sent to the muscles as a fuel injection, and you become totally focused on what psychologists call fight or flight. Thing is, this emergency state is only meant to last just long enough to get you out of danger. But here in the 21st century, we stress about different things, and for much, much longer. Your brain and body stay on red alert, and you'll be less able to think clearly, learn, or remember things. Take a few more deep breaths, because as you now know, stress is a physical reaction, and deep breathing helps to counteract its effects. So, what else can you do? Okay, top tips to reduce stress. First, get plenty of exercise. Let out all that locked up energy. Now, back to the problem. Get in control. Scope out the situation and how you're going to tackle it. Don't stress alone. Talk to someone. Socialize and have a laugh. You can't laugh and quake with fear at the same time. Get down with nature on a big or small scale. And if your mind won't stop worrying, it's something else to do instead.
So, to conclude, I would like to say maybe we have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Friends, बहुत ज़रूरी है ये समझना कि what is under our control and what is not. हम उन चीज़ों को जो हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है उनको विद अ स्माइल एक्सेप्ट करना सीखें, और वो चीज़ें जो हम चेंज कर सकते हैं उसके लिए इनर करेज, इनर ग्रिट हम में हो, और हम इन दोनों के बीच में वाइजली चूज कर सकें. एंड एवरी टाइम we are tempted to react it in the same old way, ask yourself, do you want to be a prisoner of the past or the pioneer of the future? So a little change in your habits will make a whole lot of impact in how you cope up with your stress. And remember, your mechanism shouldn't be maladaptive. So friends, any questions that you would like to put in, please put it in the chat box. And I hope this session has been of some help to you. And it would be more, if you start incorporating these things in your life, try to find time for yourself. Definitely, your life. Okay. The attendance link will be shortly sent to you. You are open to question answers. Please put your questions in the chat box.
Yes, Mickey ma'am. So that was a very wonderful session for managing stress. And really, I must say that at this end of the session, we are all little bit stress free and we are energized to face the challenges of the next day. That was a very wonderful session, and we hope that we can have more such sessions from you in the coming future. I would request
So
all
kind
the
of you.
participants to mark their attendance link, which is given in the chat box now. This will be open for half an hour. So please mark it properly so that we can issue the certificate at the earliest. And once you complete your attendance marking, you can come out from the session. Thank you all very much for such a patient hearing and such a wonderful session. Thanks to Mrs. Mickey Singh, Principal, Chinmaya Vidyalaya, South Park, Jamshedpur.
Hariom, thank you everybody for being with me throughout the session, and thank you Subhoshri madam for giving me this wonderful platform. Hariom, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Let us all now mark the attendance. And if anybody has any doubts, they can ask the resource person, Mrs. Mickey Singh. She will be happy to clear your doubts.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Farzana. I just want to thank you, not a question, but I want to thank you for such a beautiful session, ma'am. And while you were taking the session, when you talked about meditation and creating your own happy place and visiting that, I actually tried it and I felt so relaxed.
Thank you so much, Farzana, for giving me on the spot. Like you've tried it on the spot and you're giving me a feedback. That is wonderful. That is wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, Hariom Subhoshri.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you please tell me how to write Siksha ID, CBSE Siksha ID?
Madam, the CBSE Shiksha ID would be your school code. It would be your school code at CB 664 like @cbsesiksha.in. Your school code @cbsesiksha.in. Please mark your attendance. It is very, very important. And if you have no questions, dear participants, you may start leaving the meeting.
गुड इवनिंग मैम।
Good evening.
मैम ये शिक्षा सीबीएसई ये जो मांग रहे हो वो उसमें
आपके
मैं
स्कूल
क्या
का
डालूं?
एक कोड होगा, आपके स्कूल का 5 डिजिट एक कोड होगा, वो
मैम
आपका
ये
कोड है।
6337 है।
हाँ, तो जो भी कोड है @cbsesiksha.in
सीबीएसई
शिक्षा.in।
शिक्षा इन। ओके मैम, थैंक यू मैम।
थैंक यू।
मैम ये सारी कैपिटल में रहेंगी क्या या स्मॉल?
नहीं नहीं मैम, सारे स्मॉल में रहेंगे।
ओके ओके। मेल आईडी मैम सीबीएसई वाली रहेगी क्या? सीबीएसई डिजिटल?
नहीं, सीबीएसई डिजिटल नहीं मैडम, सीबीएसई शिक्षा
एक और दिया हुआ मैम, पार्टिसिपेंट प्रेफरेंशियली सीबीएसई डिजिटल एजुकेशन आईडी।
हाँ, तो आपका सीबीएसई डिजिटल आईडी जो होगा आप वो वहां पे मांगा जा रहा है, प्रेफरेंस में पूछा जा रहा है।
ओके ओके मैम।
I request all participants to fill
टॉपिक
the
नेम
form.
प्लीज टेल मी ना।
Stress management techniques, madam. Stress management techniques. I will put it up in the chat box.
ओके मैम।
Stress management techniques.
टेक्निक्स।
Excuse me, madam. I have just written stress management only. Any problem?
No, there won't be any problem.
Ma'am, one question.
हाँ, बोलिए।
Ma'am, how can we identify that any student is stressed?
See, so many symptoms were shared with you, no? The physical
Yeah, ma'am.
effects, the emotional effects. अगर आपको लगता है कि कोई बच्चा बहुत दिनों से एक ट्रैक पे चल रहा है और अचानक से उसके बिहेवियर में कोई चेंज आया है, वो शांत रहने लगा है, वो शेयर
But
करना
I-
बंद कर दिया है, या आप
Yes,
उसके
ma'am.
बॉडी के मूवमेंट से पता कीजिए। मैंने बोला ना, नेल बाइटिंग या फिजिटी है, शांत नहीं बैठ
Yeah.
पा रहा है, तो वो सारे सिम्टम्स हैं जो स्ट्रेस के चलते आते हैं। तो आप उसको वैसे आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं। और डेफिनेटली इतना बड़ा चेंज किसी ट्रॉमेटिक सिचुएशन में ही आता है, तो पता करने की कोशिश कीजिए कि उनके पर्सनल लाइफ में कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं चल रही।
Yes, ma'am.
कभी कभी पेरेंट्स का सेपरेशन होता है, दैट इज अ वेरी स्ट्रेसफुल सिचुएशन, या छोटे भाई बहन का बर्थ होना, ये भी क्वाइट स्ट्रेसफुल सिचुएशन।
Yeah.
और उससे काफी हद तक बच्चों का बिकॉज ऑफ दिस स्ट्रेस उनका एकेडमिक्स भी कभी कभी हम देखते हैं काफी सफर करता है।
Yeah, they get disturbed in studies
यस,
also.
एंड लर्न टू लिसन टू देम। उनको आप सुनिए, उनसे सुनना सीखिए, और सुन के फिर उनको आप बताइए कि क्या किया जा सकता है।
But in a class of just 40 minutes, it becomes difficult for us to find out, isn't it? But when
नहीं,
we
मुझे
go
ये
every day to the
मैम,
class, yeah, we can identify to some extent, but completely or not.
मैम द पॉइंट इज, आपने आइडेंटिफाई किया, आप उसको 10 दिन से देख रहे हो या महीने दिन से देख रहे हो, कुछ मिसिंग है उसके बिहेवियर में, तो
Yes.
डेफिनेटली आप उसको समझ गए कि कुछ यहाँ डिफरेंट हो रहा है, कुछ अलार्मिंग है यहाँ। आप उसको बियॉन्ड स्कूल आवर्स, उसके गेम्स पीरियड में, अगर आप भी तभी फ्री हैं, आप उसको बुलाइए, आप उससे बातें कीजिए। अगर आप उससे बातें नहीं कर सकती हैं, तो आप ऐसे टीचर जिससे वो क्लोज है, और अब तो
Yeah, counselor or someone, isn't
counselor
it?
and everybody is available at school. So
Yeah.
you may ask, you can call the parents and discuss it with them, that why is the child withdrawing in his or her own shell.
Yeah.
So we have to reach out to those children.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, your session was wonderful. I liked it very much.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhavi ji. Thank you so much. There is a
Hello.
question. Yes.
मिकी सिंह, मैं शोभा गुप्ता।
जी हरिओम।
हरिओम सर मैम। अरे हमको
जी।
याद आ रहा है स्कूल का कोड नंबर क्या है?
मैडम आप अपने टीचर्स अपने प्रिंसिपल मैडम से पूछ लीजिए कि आपके स्कूल का
66337 337।
ओके ओके।
सी यहाँ
Good evening, ma'am.
पे यस गुड इवनिंग I can see a
Thank you,
question
ma'am.
in the chat box from Rashmi Agarwal ji. Ma'am, how can we motivate young children during the examination time? See, motivation is something which you can definitely motivate. There were tips shared, no? Set your priorities, be realistic, plan your schedule. So if you share these tips with your students, definitely they will be in a better frame of mind and they will be motivated to work in a more systematic and organized manner, and definitely their performance will improve.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Vibha
I'm
ji.
Vibha from Kerala Public School, Burma Mine.
Ji,
Ma'am,
Hariom.
I'm Hariom, ma'am.